Hey, folks, welcome to today's edition of Roland Martin Unfiltered, a packed show for you. The folks in Georgia are going to the polls today. The first day of early voting begins. But the folks with Black Votes Matter tried to take 40 black women to the polls, but county officials ordered them off the bus. They'll join us live from the road to explain what in the world is going on with voter intimidation there in Georgia. Also, folks, we're covering our next story, and we'll be dealing with what's happening again with voter suppression in other states, also giving you the deadlines, what's happening there as well. Also, what the hell is going on with these privileged white women who are losing their damn minds? And so a white woman in New York says a 9-year-old boy somehow, an 8-year-old boy somehow groped her butt. We have video, she's lying. Then you got some crazy white woman in St. Louis would not let a brother into the apartment building where he lived. She's looking for a job today. We'll have the video and break down those stories as well. Also, a story out of Little Rock, Arkansas, where a black man beat the cops today. All charges were dropped. 12 SWAT officers stormed into his apartment, knocked the door down, said he was selling drugs, and they had him on videotape. Except one problem, the brother had a bunch of cameras in his apartment. They're lying. We'll talk to him and his attorney, Ben Crump, right here on the show as well. And Kanye is supposed to sit down with Charlamagne the God for an interview talking about mental health. That's been canceled. I wonder why. And speaking of that, Kanye's in Uganda, giving a pair of signed shoes to the Ugandan dictator. I guess those human rights violations, I guess they don't get Google in the Kardashian household. What the hell is going on, y'all? It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
All right, folks, early voting began today in Georgia, and Republicans continue their efforts to disenfranchise as many voters as possible. We talked about, of course, last week how Brian Kemp, the Secretary of State, who's also running for governor, is doing his part to try to keep folks from voting. Of course, Stacey Abrams, she's doing all she can as well to fight that. Of course, I talked to her this morning on the Tom Joyner Morning Show, where she was highly critical of what was taking place in Georgia when it comes to early voting. Now, check this out, folks. Today, the folks with Black Votes Matter, they've actually been traveling across rural Georgia, talking to people, getting them excited about early voting. And they were actually going to take some people to the polls today, a group of black women who they visited who wanted to travel with them and on the bus to go to the polls. Well, something happened, and that is they got on the bus, but a county official made a call to the senior citizen center and said, take them off of the bus. What the hell's going on? Joining us right now live from their bus tour in Georgia, Latasha Brown and Cliff Albright, the co-founders of Black Votes Matter. So Latasha and Cliff, so what was the deal? So y'all are talking to people there. They are excited. They want to be on the bus. Then a phone call is made, and then get off the bus.
Yep, that's exactly right, Roland. We were having an incredible time, and folks were literally dancing outside the bus, dancing to some James Brown, Black and Proud, got on the bus, all excited to go vote. Even folks who had already voted were excited just to be on the bus and to be going along with their friends down to go vote. And all of a sudden we got a call of the person, our partner who was coordinating, got pulled off. They got spoken to. They basically said that they had the folks had to come off the bus. That the bus wasn't allowed. We didn't have the proper credentials, or it just wasn't allowed that we bring the folks to the polling place. And so, everybody got off the bus. We didn't want to fight it. We didn't want to get the folks at the senior center in trouble. We didn't want to create problems because that's not our purpose. But we did want to make sure. And in fact, folks got even more fired up, honestly. And at the end of the day, we believe that the folks there, we already knew that they were going to go vote. But now And we already knew that they were going to talk to their friends, but now they're even more fired up to talk to more friends and more family and to spread that story. And there's going to be an even bigger turnout because of that. So what was meant to be intimidation and voter suppression is actually going to wind up having the opposite impact.
Latasha, here's the deal, though. It's very simple. Anybody could drive anybody to the polls. It's not like
That's right.
you have to be a voter registrar to drive somebody to the polls.
Absolutely. I mean, this is part of what I'm so glad, and we actually caught it on video. This is the kind of intimidation, voter intimidation, that has always been going on in the Deep South. There was absolutely nothing that prevented people from. We have a chartered bus. These are the kind of buses that take folks to the casinos, that take churches. We have an insured, chartered bus that we have taking folks to go to the polls. They actually asked us to get on the bus to go vote. So it's by their own choice. It's a chartered bus. There was nothing to prevent them. What we were told is that someone had passed by, saw the folks getting on the bus, had made a couple of calls, and a county commissioner. Now all of a sudden, all the county commissioners, none of them are taking responsibility for it, but someone called the director of that facility. And mind you, this is a day facility. It's not like the people live there. It's just a community center. So the people that came are independent folks who come on their own. They come to go. They're seniors. They have senior activities there. So there was technically nothing that legally really prevented them from being able to get on the bus and vote with us, other than this tactic of intimidation. Because they go to the center, because the center is important to them, they reached out to the director of the center, and in that process, she said that they couldn't get on the bus. It was they're individual voters. There's nothing that it's as if somebody else is making a determination for our folks. And these are people, y'all, that are seniors. These are senior citizens. So if any of you all got someone, like your aunt and your grandmother and other people, that technically, particularly little things like that, to intimidate them, it has a particular kind of impact on them. Now, what was really surprising for us in this process is, and we even have video of them, they were getting off the bus singing. It was like, they weren't even surprised, because this is such a tactic that is so often done. What was even more ironic is essentially we weren't the ones we came down to do the rally. There had already been provisions made to take them for early voting made by the center. So after they got off our bus, they went and got on the other bus being prepared to go vote. Well, somehow that same call, or I don't know if it was a subsequent call or not, said that they weren't going to take them to vote at all that day. They would go another day. So the entire, all of these seniors that wanted to go early vote, not only were they intimidated or to not vote and go to the polls with us on our bus, but the prearrangements that had been made for them by the center also got canceled. Those are the kinds of tactics that have been used in the rural South that nobody is holding folks accountable to, that our people deal with day in and day out. And we just happen to have this time, we have it on tape.
And of course, y'all are traveling all across Georgia, going to a lot of these rural towns. And again, places where in the past, Democratic gubernatorial candidates, frankly, ignored those voters, trying to appeal to, frankly, white suburban voters or white moderate voters. But Stacey Abrams is really focusing on turning out those folks who've been marginalized in the past.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these are the kinds of counties that we've been going to. And in fact, right now we're in another similar county. We're in Milledgeville, Georgia, and we're actually passing by a Stacey Abrams event. And so she's had a very deliberate strategy to pay attention to counties which in the past have just been ignored. And that's been the reaction that we've gotten everywhere that we've gone. It's just been people just saying, thank you. Thank you for not forgetting about us. Thank you for not just going past us on the highway as you're going up and down between the big cities. Thank you for connecting us. Thank you. People just feel isolated. Sometimes it's hard for folks even just to get materials from candidates, to get push cards or signs. They're completely ignored. Their own activities to try to mobilize the votes are underinvested in. They get no resources to help put canvassers on the ground or tools to do phone banking or texting, whatever it is. Folks are just kind of left out there. And so that's why it's been such a big part of our strategy. It's one of our 5 core beliefs. We say Black voters matter everywhere. And that means in every one of these counties, where it's rural, urban, whatever it is, if there are Black folks there, then that's where we're going. And we believe that that's really the strategy that Stacey Abrams has been following too.
And let me say, yeah, even what we saw and we experienced today, that's happening throughout the South. That didn't just happen here, right? Those kind of tactics. It's not just voter suppression. Doesn't just come in the form of the 53,000 registrations that the Brian Kemp is trying to kick out, or the Randolph County where they want to close. On an every day-to-day basis, Black voters are subjected to voter intimidation strategies like we experienced today, or voter suppression tactics, be it legal or illegal.
All right, then, Latasha and Cliff, we appreciate it. Thank you so very much, and keep firing folks up to vote in Georgia, Florida, and other southern states.
Thank you. And thank you, Roland. Thank you for this platform, and thank you for allowing us to share our story. We really, really appreciate you being able to provide the platform for us to get our stories out. Thank you.
All right. I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Also, folks, young voters are going to be critical when it comes to the election all across this country, but especially the South, and especially in Maryland, Georgia, and Florida. The National Coalition of Black Civic Participation. I'm trying to get it out. They are really focusing on those young voters between now and November 6th. Joining us is Melanie Kim, of course, who leads the organization. Melanie, so explain this HBCU challenge.
Hey, thanks, Roland, and so a shout out to my sister Latasha and Cliff, and just know, we got your back. Black You Vote, which is the youth-led arm of the coalition, had something we do every other year called the HBCU and Community Challenge. This year we did it as a GOTV and quite frankly, voter protection challenge. It's led by the young people. I guess I'm still in that category, right, to talk about it, but we have young people in all of our states and with all of our partners. One of my partners that's in the room is Cleola Brown with APRI as an example, and we're actually engaged in young people getting their peers. It's a peer-to-peer model where they go and they use pledge cards. This year it's been upgraded to use text messaging to encourage young people to vote, but also encouraging young people to become poll monitors for just some of the stuff that we've been sitting here talking about. And so it's just another tool that they created through Black You Vote to help young people encourage each other. It's a peer-to-peer model.
Amari Foster, you're one of the organizers for Georgia Stand Up. You're joining us via Skype. And what are you seeing, what are you hearing there on the ground? Can you hear me? Amari? All right, looks like we have some audio issues there. Yep. Melody, you have actually been to Georgia, some other places.
Yes.
Are we seeing a level of activity that we have not seen in recent years?
I was in Georgia for 10 days and actually was at Clark Atlanta University where I graduated some years ago. The energy is there. While I was in Georgia, Stacey Abrams is one of my young folks that used to be an intern for me, so I'm really honored and proud just to see her. Just on a side note, glad to see her leadership blossoming as it has. But young people are fired up, and this issue around those 53,000 voters that were not purged, but may not be able to vote. Young people were talking about that at the game.
Well, first of all, Stacey Abrams has said that they can vote.
They can vote.
The issue, but
provisional ballots.
Potentially, those votes may not count.
Provisional ballots, and this is just the history of provisional ballots. Still comes back to someone going to make a subjective decision too, and so legally, you can use a provisional ballot. Many times, provisional ballots are not counted. So I'm glad to see the Lawyers Committee, others suing, Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda, and all those other groups suing to try to push back. But what I told folks, though, what people are saying, they are fired up from young to seasoned. They're like, we are not going to let anybody. So we talk about let my people vote in Florida. You got to let my people vote problem going on in Georgia. And so this thing is really turning the voting rights issues front and center, along with other issues, of course, but the issue around like that, if you can't win it legally, you're going to steal it? No, that's what people were talking about throughout the 10 days I was in Georgia and working with our coalition down there, Georgia Stand Up and Black Ones Roundtable and others, and APRI and others.
Amari, there are a lot of folks who were 18 to 29 who did not vote in 2016. Are we seeing a complete flip in 2018 in these midterms? All right, Amari, can you hear me?
No.
Looks like we're still having issues with
Yeah.
with Amari. So
Yeah, well, Amari Foster. Let me just tell you who she is. Amari Foster is a community organizer down there in Georgia. Works with Deborah Scott with Georgia Stand Up. They're one of our partners, and really she's been she's been at City Hall all day because we were talking earlier, and so she's one of the sharpest young ladies I've met in a very long time. I think she's trying to talk now.
all right. So what we'll do is so do we have Amari? If we don't, then I'm gonna have to move on. If we don't have her, so we'll get her on between now and Election Day.
Yes.
Melanie, where can folks get more information?
Go to unitycampaign.org. You can sign up for the Black You Vote HBCU, and you don't have to be an HBCU, by the way. You can be any kind of community. You can be any kind of college or university or a nonprofit community-based organization. We want young people, whether they're students or non-students, to utilize this as a tool. And we know that millennial vote, Gen X vote, Gen Y vote, young people vote is a powerful tool. And we think that's going to be part of the secret sauce. You know, I was talking about black women, but black women, but young people, I think, are going to surprise us in many places this year.
All right, Melanie Campbell, we sure appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, folks, let me give you these deadlines. Critical deadlines are coming up when it comes to you being able to register to vote over the next 5 days. First off, October 15th, the deadline to register in Virginia. Again, is October 15th. October 16th, we have several states: Kansas, Maryland, New Jersey, Oregon, West Virginia. Okay, let me repeat those again: Kansas, Maryland, New Jersey, Oregon, and West Virginia. October 17th, Massachusetts and South Carolina. Okay, Massachusetts and South Carolina. Massachusetts, you have Ayanna Pressley, of course, who may be the first woman of color representing Massachusetts in Congress, who is running there against South Carolina. October 18th, Nevada. You have Stephen Horsford, of course, the former member of Congress who is trying to return to Congress, who is running there as well. Plus, you've got Aaron Ford, who is running for Nevada Attorney General, an African-American there. October 22nd, Alabama, California, and South Dakota. So again, those are the states all coming up, all the voter registration deadlines. Also, keep in mind, folks, there are deadlines when it comes to absentee balloting, requesting that information as well. And so you must remember all of those deadlines that are critically important if you want to vote in the midterm elections. Now, over the weekend, Brian Kemp in Georgia used the language of white supremacists, segregationists, when he was complaining about the folks who have been critical of him for those 53,000 votes Melanie was talking about, as well as LaTosha Brown. Over the weekend, Brian Kemp, who is the Secretary of State and a Republican running against Stacey Abrams, he said, he used the language, outside agitators coming into Georgia and stirring things up. If you think back to Ross Barnett in Mississippi, think back to George Wallace in Alabama, think back to Lester Maddox in Georgia, that was the same language those segregationists used against folks with the Black Freedom Movement in the 1950s and 1960s. I want to go to our panel right now and bring them in and get their thoughts about this before we go to our next story. First and foremost, we have, of course, Michael Brown, former vice chair of the DNC Finance Committee, Avis Jones-DeWeaver, leadership strategist and author of How Exceptional Black Women Lead, Malik Abdul, National Communications Director for the Black Conservative Foundation. Malik, anytime we hear, again, certain words, when you say outside agitators, if you black, and you understand your history, you know exactly the language and where that comes from.
I disagree with that. I don't think there's any racial motivation or intent behind someone saying that they're outside agitators. If we can't say outside agitators when talking about a race, especially one that in Georgia that we're talking about, I mean, where are we now?
Malik, you do know our history.
Absolutely.
When folks were fighting for the right to vote, when they were filing lawsuits demanding civil rights, and when the language of outside agitators was used to describe civil rights organizations who were complaining about being disenfranchised. You do know that history, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But But that doesn't mean that when he said what he said, what Kemp said, he had racial intent behind saying that.
Okay,
I
so
mean, it's a common phrase, outside agitators.
No, it's not.
Common phrase.
No, actually, it's not.
They are.
It's not a common phrase.
We talked about it. We're talking about it now here in the District of Columbia, where we're talking about outside interests who are trying to influence our.
No.
That's-
Outside
so if you say
interests?
Interest agitator.
Okay, Avis.
I mean, it's the same thing.
No, it's not.
the same thing. Oh my God, that is absolutely ridiculous. It's laughable. That's why I'm laughing. I mean, I have never in my life, ever heard the phrase outside agitators outside of the specific context that we're talking about it now, in terms of the racist history of segregationists. And not only, and it's true, that itself is not laughable. That in itself, in fact, is accurate. Okay. Now, here's the thing. When he said that, he was not only saying that to black people in terms of we know what that means. He was saying that to white people in the South who also knows what that means. And so he was sort of giving a wink and a nod to his specific constituency, saying, hey, I got this. I'm going to keep them in check, and I'll make sure that we continue to do everything that we can to suppress the black vote, which in fact he's been doing for years.
Now, Michael, I talked to Stacey Abrams again this morning on the Tom Joyner Morning Show, and she said she also found the comments to be utterly ridiculous. She said because it's actually Georgians who are white, who are black, who are Asian, who are Latino, who are filing suit demanding their right to vote. When you hear a guy like Brian Kemp say outside agitator, what immediately comes to mind for you?
Well, I've never heard a white supremacist being called an outside agitator. Clearly, there's a connotation. That's what's interesting. I'm trying to figure out what history books you were reading from as a youngster. Because I don't understand outside
I've read quite a few.
They called Dr. King an outside agitator.
Yeah.
They called Malcolm X out agitator.
Absolutely.
But never white supremacist. Why is that?
Well, I mean, I can't answer for why Kemp said what he said, but I do know that it's not racist to call anyone an outside
It's a
agitator
code word.
if
It
that's what they
absolutely
are.
is racist.
But
It's a
that's
code
just
word.
because of how you receive it.
Wait,
But that's just because of how you receive it.
What are outside agitators then? By definition then. You said if that's what they are,
The
who
same
are
thing,
they?
the same interests that are here in D.C. trying to influence the election here in D.C. I don't know who they are.
No.
But we do know that there's national money pouring
Malik.
into the race
When
here in
you
D.C.
say the same interest here in D.C.,
Outside
hold up. So, do you consider the NAACP Legal Defense Fund to be an outside agitator?
They're outside interests, absolutely.
No. Do you consider the NAACP Legal Defense Fund
You're using
to be an
agitator.
outside agitator? No. I'm using the words of Brian Kemp.
Well, right, but there may have been other words that he could use. I would have said outside interest. But it means the same
Hold on. The NAACP Legal Defense Fund is a national organization.
Right.
So therefore, how are they an outside interest or agitator?
If they were trying to influence an election here in D.C., I would actually consider them an outside.
I'm sorry. You do know that the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, as well as Transformative Justice Coalition, as well as NAACP,
Absolutely.
LDF, you do know that they typically file lawsuits in different parts of the country, especially
Absolutely.
the South, as it relates to the voting interests of black people.
Absolutely.
So therefore, how are they outside if they're also representing black people in Georgia?
They're still outside interests. So there are local interests and there's outside interests, or national interests, if you will. In the case in Georgia, what we're talking about here, we're talking about an existing law that was on the books. The same groups that sued Georgia and
Actually, let me give you a little bit of history to back it up. What you actually had was a practice by Brian Kemp where he was slapped down by a federal judge. Then the Republican legislature then chose to go back, forget the federal judge, and then make that an actual law.
Right.
That's actually what you had there.
And it's the same group
So
that's suing them now.
I ask you again, do you believe the NAACP Legal Defense Fund should file such a lawsuit against Georgia,
Sure.
protecting the interests of black voters?
Sure, they can. They absolutely can. But I also don't think it's inappropriate or inaccurate to call them an outside interest.
Michael?
I don't. That's what they are.
He was called outside agitators.
yeah.
Let's get the language
Right.
correct.
Well,
And he knew exactly.
Outside agitators are
I would
interests. To me,
love
it's the same thing.
I would love for you to be able to quote an example where a white person or a person of color even used the word outside agitator to refer to white people, for example. I don't know of any other context.
Okay,
And when
then
that
not.
specific phrase has been used, other than having it be used as a weapon against the interest of black people throughout our entire history, I have never heard it used in any other context. Can you provide me an example of
We're
such?
talking about weapon. It's the
Can
same
you
thing.
examine me an example
It's
of
the
that?
same thing that Stacey Abrams doing, using this whole idea
So I
that
take
they're
that to
trying
mean
to
you can't
purge
provide
for
an example.
52,000 people, using it as a weapon. It's dog whistle politics. We do
Exactly.
know.
That's what I'm saying.
But we do know that that's something that Abrams is engaging in.
How
She's
so?
engaging.
How so?
Because she's trying to paint a picture that Brian Kemp is trying to purge voters or whatever.
Hold on. I'm sorry.
that's
You said, hold up. You
They
said
can still-
Hold up. You
they
said
can still
trying.
vote.
You said trying to.
Right.
Okay.
Trying to.
In the last several years, they estimate 1.2 million voters have been purged in Georgia.
Well, because of an exact match law of over 7 million, I think almost 7 million voters that they have there in Georgia. 52,000 of those voters did not, their information on their registration forms did not match their Social Security card or their driver's license. It was one or the other. So to say that it's a racist intent behind that when you have the governor of the state who just extended voter registration in at least 4 of the counties, half of which after the hurricane, he extended the voting registration for those. So to say that the state of Georgia is being racist in this sense, I just disagree with it because it is a fact that...
Henry, go to my iPad, please. This is a story from Yahoo where Joseph Crespino, professor of 20th century U.S. history and chair of the history department at Emory University in Atlanta, this is what he said. He said, Brian Kemp refers to his critics as outside agitators. You can't make this stuff up. He said that the term is heavily freighted with racially charged meaning dating to its use by pro-segregation leaders during the civil rights movement. The term outside agitators has a long and complicated history in Southern politics. It was first used by opponents of labor unions back in the 1930s and 40s, but it was quickly also applied to any kinds of groups that were advocating for greater civil rights and legal protections for African Americans. So it became common from the 1930s and 1940s onward for Southern politicians to label anybody who wanted to change the status quo in Southern politics as outside agitators and to dismiss movements for civil rights as being instigated by people from the outside. That's the head of the history department at Emory University, who might know a little bit something about Southern politics.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm from Mississippi, so I know.
So
why not just acknowledge it was a racist thing to say?
What I said is that I would not have used that word. I would have used
call it
outside
racist.
interest.
Just call it
but I'm
racist.
not going to call it racist if I don't think that it's racist because Democrats feel that it's racist.
No, but you think it's an interest, not an agitator. You're trying to change
But I'm
the
using
terms
the
of what
words
he said.
interchangeably.
But that's not what he said.
But I'm using the words interchangeably.
But it's not the same.
Because
But it's
I
not the
believe
same
that that's
thing,
what he meant.
But it's not the same.
Okay, it may not be the same, but that's what I think he meant.
All right,
Saying that.
I love how I think that's what he meant, but we know what he said.
Well,
Say what
hey.
that means.
And I see. I focus on what he said and not what I think he meant, because when I hear what he said, damn it, I heard what he said. All right, folks, let's talk about what happened in Arkansas. Of course, where a cop gets in trouble, gets caught. Everyone says just a bad apple. Well, what happens when you get a whole bunch of bad apples? Little Rock, Arkansas narcotics unit, folks, pretty rotten. They messed with the wrong brother. So check this out. It was an early morning no-knock drug raid at the apartment of Roderick Talley. He spent the next several months trying to figure out why the police did this.
They might stick the knife into an abscess and then explodes all over the place.
We are dominated.
Hey, Griff.
Both have not holding a room or contact on frame.
Not enough information in this script.
Mechanical breakers.
So 11 SWAT officers blew his door open, accusing him of selling drugs. They say he was actually caught on videotape selling the drugs, except the problem was he wasn't home. Charges were dropped today. Robert Talley, thank goodness he had a security system in his apartment. He joins us right now with his attorney, Ben Crump. Roderick, I got to ask you, so they thought you were a drug seller?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's what they're alleged.
And so, again, so all of a sudden they bust into your apartment, accuse you of selling drugs, and they produce any evidence showing you selling drugs? Anything?
No, sir. They didn't have any. No type of proof.
Ben Crump, I don't quite understand this whole thing. And again, what gave them the legal reason to blow his door open?
Well, that's what is the issue, Roland. Grateful you have these type of praise on America could fail.
Actually, hold tight 1 second, Ben Crump. For some reason, we're skipping. So, guys, do me a favor. Get them on the phone so we can have a much clearer signal. I know we want to do it via Skype, but the problem is it's skipping. We're going to hear every third word of being Crump. Get them on the phone and let me know when we have them on the phone so we can go right back to them so we can have a much clearer signal. I do want to do this story right now, though. A far-right Trump-supporting hate group, the Proud Boys, beat up some left-wing protesters on a Friday night as the New York City cops watched and did nothing. Now, they arrested 3 of the left-wing protesters, but none of the Proud Boys. But now, days after the video surfaced, now the NYPD says they have enough evidence to charge 9 members of the group with rioting or attempted assault. Maybe it's because the damn video went viral. Press play.
Oh my God. Oh my God. No. Oh my God.
Black men went around beating some folks. The cops wait 3 days to charge him. Here's what Gavin McInnes said. He, of course, is the founder of the Proud Boys. He said, quote, "I have a lot of support in the NYPD, and I very much appreciate that. The boys in blue." No shock there. No shock there. Folks, again, these are a bunch of thugs. These are hooligans who they are allowing to walk around as if they're respectable.
I'm not sure why they're doing that in New York City. I think it's the mayor, I believe, is a Democrat. It's a state run by a Democrat. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why they didn't press those charges initially. But I wouldn't. Of course.
What does that have to do with them being a Democrat?
Well, you pointed out that it was a Trump supporter. You pointed out that the Proud Boys were Trump supporters.
Who did?
You said that in your initial.
I said they were Trump supportors?
Yeah, you said Proud Boys. You said they were Trump.
Actually, no, I didn't. No, I actually no, I did. You might want to, but the bottom line is this here. That has nothing to do with it being a Democratic city. The reality is, if they're a Trump supporter, they're Trump supporters.
Right.
But the bottom line is, that's nothing to do with them being thugs beating on people.
Sure does. And I'm glad that New York seems to have taken the right steps in pressing charges against them.
But see, Ava, these are the same guys who's supposed to have the white supremacist rally here in D.C. I think about 3 of them showed up.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah. But once again, well, see, they're afraid to be around a bunch of black folks. Here's the reality. They are expressing an allegiance with the police. I mean, we know that this is behavior that we see oftentimes. When we saw what happened in Charlottesville, for example, how long did it take for many of those white supremacists who were out there sort of attacking people, brandishing weapons, shooting people, not even beyond the poor lady that was murdered, but their violent actions on the street. The police were just sitting there watching it, just like they were there to sort of view and not do anything to protect the opposing protesters that were there.
I mean, it's as if, look, just like in Charlottesville, it's as if, Michael, these cops are going, we're good, we're just going to watch, see what happens.
Can you imagine? Good thing for videotape and camera phones. Can you imagine if we had that kind of technology back in Jim Crow South?
Oh, God.
It'd be a whole different world.
Yeah.
But thank goodness.
Well, hell, we still had film. They still beat black folks on Bloody Sunday.
We still see it, absolutely.
Crazy white folks didn't care.
Did not care because they knew the juries were also stacked against them, so there weren't going to be any convictions anyway, just like we see sometimes in these police trials.
Well, and again, I think what you have here, you have these Trump-loving Proud Boys, and that's exactly who they are.
Say it. Now
I ain't got to fight, because that's who they are. They are white nationalists,
right?
Okay, and then they love them some Donald Trump, which is one of the reasons why he did not like having to call these white nationalists out in Charlottesville. That's exactly what we're seeing. And so the bottom line is, these are thugs. They should be prosecuted. They should be thrown in jail. period.
Yeah, I agree. We saw that during the election where Trump supporters were attacked at rallies and things like that. So this is nothing new. Because those
I'm sorry,
there are
hold
videotapes
on.
of that.
We saw at the Trump supporters attacked
there
at
were
rallies.
videotapes of Trump supporters being blocked from going into events.
And you know we also have lots of video of Trump supporters attacking other people.
I'm not denying that. But
because you didn't mention it.
Skipped over
I just want to make sure,
You're not
just in case you got a little cloudy there.
over it.
So, because it's amazing how you just skipped over that. I wonder why.
But we're not talking about those either. You never hear the conversation about things that happen to Trump supporters.
Actually, we do, because I do recall covering what happened in Chicago when they tried to come there. I do recall when they had the rallies outside, even in California, we actually covered that. So actually, that's not true.
But it's very scant coverage. And
it's not.
But when you hear people talk about the things that happened during the campaign, they actually tend to not point those things out.
Actually, they do.
It's never in that.
But I love the word you.
But it's never in the discussion.
You really want your Trump school of media with they.
The Trump school of media.
Like it kept out. You're right. That's a good degree from Trump University. They.
Yeah, we never
they
hear
can
about
never define they, but we mention they.
You know, this is a teachable moment, because this is the very definition of false equivalency.
No, it's
okay?
not.
Yes, it is.
It's your definition.
Because
of
here
it.
it's
not mine.
well, that's right, because it's the correct definition.
Well,
okay,
if you
because
feel
this
that
is
way
what
about
happened.
yourself,
This
that's
is
fine.
what we know, because I have facts on my side, dear.
Okay,
We
you have
know
your
that if you
opinion
look
on your
at
side.
quantitatively, I'm not even going to respect that with an answer.
Go ahead,
We
go
all
ahead.
know what
Well,
happened and what didn't
that's okay.
happen. We all know that your standard bearer, apparently the person that you're proud of, was telling people in his rallies to go and beat up people and offering actually to pay for them in case they were charged. We also
And that's
know
factual.
there were
And he was wrong for saying
numerous. But you skipped over that, dear.
Yeah, but he was wrong for saying
And I
that.
don't happen to remember anybody outside of Trump rallies offering anything like that.
Well,
Do you? I don't think I do. And so,
Kind of got you on that, Malik.
It's very interesting to me.
They're just doing it now
It's
with the
very
Democrats,
interesting
Eric
to
Holder,
me
and Hillary Clinton,
that
and all of
when
those.
you can,
They're doing what?
They're just doing that now.
Doing what?
They're advocating for it now, the whole mob mentality. That
No, they're not.
Democrats are.
No.
Yes,
No, they're not.
are. Yes, they
The
are.
mob.
The mob mentality. That
Like-
they're doing.
Hold on.
Like the very fine
Eric Holder's advocating for the mob
side.
mentality.
The mob mentality.
Where are your facts?
That they're encouraging.
No. Where are your facts?
Well, we know Hillary Clinton just came out with her comments. We know.
Hold on, what comment?
We know Eric Holder.
No.
When
No.
they go high, well, what is it? When they go low, we go high, but we're going to kick them to the ground. Paraphrasing what Michelle Obama said, and even Michelle Obama had to come back and push back against Eric Holder.
And he
So
stepping in his face with golf.
Okay, all right.
Like your boys.
Well, I didn't hear Donald Trump saying that. Did he say that?
Actually, the Republican.
Did Donald Trump say something about
Republican.
stop-
The Republican running for governor in Pennsylvania said that he was going to stomp his opponent in the face like with golf spikes.
That's inappropriate.
Okay, but I just want to make sure you heard that.
Yeah, no,
I know
absolutely.
you might have been
That's
busy this weekend. You missed that news story. All right, let's go back to Little Rock, Arkansas with Ben Crump and Roderick Talley. We both have them on the phone now. Ben, you were about to make a point, again, in this case here, where, again, Roderick was dealing with cops there who somehow tried to say he was selling drugs, and they had no proof.
No proof whatsoever, Roland. And in fact, what Roderick, he's a true real-life hero. He uncovered the pattern and practice of the Little Rock police falsely identifying people, making false statements on probable cause affidavits to get warrants of almost 95% of black people out of 150 people, Roland Martin, that they did no-knock warrant explosions and went into their houses. Most of them were completely innocent, and the other ones were young black men who they put in jail and prison based solely on this crooked informant who now has admitted that he was lying, and he's saying he was doing this at the behest of the police. So what you have, Roland, is them knocking in the doors with explosives to black women and men. The most profound example is a black woman who had no knowledge of what drug culture was. All those officers come in pointing guns at her and her little grandchildren and her son, and they're saying, "Where are the drugs? Where's the 8-ball? We know you got an 8-ball in here." She said, "I don't know what you mean. I don't play pool." And these are the things that they did. They preyed on poor black and brown people in Arkansas, and they did it over a 2-year span. It was Roderick Talley who refused to be a victim to this police corruption, and because he had a security surveillance video, he was able to expose the lie.
So, Roderick, they dropped the charges. Any apology?
I haven't heard anything from them at all.
No apology from the cops. Nothing from the city, the mayor. Nobody.
Nobody. The only thing I got was a bill from my apartment community for the damage the police did.
So, so you have to pay for that.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
So they knocked down your door, accusing you of selling drugs, no proof, but now you got to pay for all the damage they. First of all, how much damage did it cause?
It's about a good over $1,000 worth of damage.
Wow. Wow. Ben Crump, go ahead.
And Roland, let Rod tell you in a brief narrative all about how this started. Rod, why don't you tell them just like you did before on the other statements?
It was August the 10th, 2017, about 6:22 in the morning. And it was like the day I'll never forget because it changed my life forever. I woke up to a loud explosion and my front door landed on top of me, and Little Rock Police Department SWAT team coming in fully armed with guns, probably as long as their bodies, pointing them at my head, telling me that if I moved, that I would be shot. They all came in, and after they searched, brought K-9s in, I wound up going to jail. And at that moment, while sitting in jail, I realized that something that my mother had already told me, my mother who's now deceased, told me that to stand up and fight. And when I got out of there and got home, I reviewed my surveillance footage from my security system, and at that moment I realized that I would be able to do something that a lot of black men haven't been able to do, and that's be able to prove that the police told a lie.
Wow. That is absolutely crazy. Ben Crump, I take it a civil suit's coming next.
Absolutely, and not just a civil suit on behalf of Roderick Talley. Roland, they did this almost 150 times. We don't know how many more we've been able to prove. The same narcotic detectives have done this 150 times. And get this, Roland, they've only done it to about 5 white people, maybe about 20 Latino people, and everybody else was a black person they did this to. And all these affidavits are cut and paste. You can have the same affidavit. All they did was change out the black person's name. So this is a true major victory because they're now having to vindicate these black people who were put in prison falsely. They're going to get out of jail, and we're going to make sure they're compensated. And we want the prosecutor to hold these corrupt cops accountable. But it's a great day because so many black people around America, Roland Martin, and I know you cover all America with Unfiltered. How many black people say, I didn't do it? The police are lying on me. Well, today they have a new hero because Roderick Talley, a young man on his own, he was able to expose a system of corruption that proves they really were targeting black people to fake warrants to get affidavits just to put us in jail.
Ben Crump, Roderick Talley, we certainly appreciate it. Take him to the cleaners.
Hey, Mike Lowe, we all on it, Roland. We're going to come back when they start letting some of these black people out of jail so you can talk to them.
All right, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Roger. You take care. All right, folks, going to a break right now. We come back. Crazy-ass white women. That's next. Roland Martin Unfiltered. Now, look, I'm a tech person. I love being able to email stuff and PDFs, you name that. But also, there are times when I have fans who want me to actually personally autograph a photo, which means you got to print it out. Freeprints.com gives you 1,000 4x6 prints every single year straight from your phone for free. You can print photos from Instagram, Facebook, and other sources. Now, very simple. You only pay a small shipping charge, no subscriptions or commitments ever. You can also get other size prints, and the photos are great quality. Now, I know some of y'all might be saying, okay, that doesn't happen. Well, when I went to the White House, one of the ushers there wanted me to autograph a photo. We took a picture, but she didn't have an email, and I had to also go to a store, print the photo out, out, sign it, and mail it to her. Well, with freeprints.com, I can print it right there from my phone. It'll be shipped to me. They're the #1 rated photo printing app in the world with more than 100,000 5-star reviews. It's available for iPhone and Android. Download for free, freeprints.com, and be sure to put in there when you heard about it, just say Roland. All right, folks, y'all be sure to go to freeprints.com. Again, put in Roland. Put in Roland when you do so. Okay. What the hell is wrong with white women? First, we got the white woman calling the cops on the brother who was trying to barbecue in Oakland. Then we got the white woman calling the cops on a sister who trying to sell some lemonade in the Bay Area. Then we got, I guess some other white women stores acting crazy, but now we got 2 more ignorant white women, okay? So let's deal with the first one, in New York, all right? So this crazy white woman's in the store, okay? A woman comes by with her son and daughter. She accuses this 8-year-old boy of groping her flat behind. Watch surveillance tape, y'all.
No, I want the cops here right now. No, I'll talk to you. I'm gonna stay right here. I'm gonna stay right here. I'm gonna stay right here. And our yeah.
Oh, man.
The cops are right down the block. I can go hide.
What happened?
White lady calls the cops on a black lady. I get it. Yeah, they're videotaping.
Mentally ill.
Yeah.
Mentally
Listen,
ill?
I don't care. Listen, you remember me, right? From school, right?
Yeah,
That's right. Her son grabbed my ass.
Here, she said
And
that
she
my son
decided
touched
to
her ass.
yell
I'm gonna
at
stay here. So I'm gonna stay right here.
Security
You
camera.
say your
Don't say
son
no.
got
We
that?
ain't got that.
Let's make it go viral.
Go home. No. Let me go.
No, not her.
No.
Come on. She's calling police.
All right, y'all. So Cornerstone, Caroline. Y'all saw the video right there? Now, first of all, how dumb is she? The boy walked past. Anybody could see it was the backpack. No, she's sitting here said he groped her behind. And then you saw her make this little hand gesture. I guess the mama said something. And then again, like, what the hell is she doing? What? So she's grabbing her crotch to the mama. Now look right here. Little black boy, not even looking at her, walk by. Backpack, she hunched over the desk like she's snorting something. The backpack brushes against her behind. And she said he groped. What? First of all, y'all, they had the video where she had to go back in the store, apologize. Boy, they were cussing out Cornerstone Caroline. She apologized. She said, no, I'm not a racist. But other people say she has done this to many other people as well. Okay? So let me go to the second crazy white woman for today. All right? We're going to go to St. Louis. All right? This brother is trying to walk into his apartment in St. Louis. But no, Hillary Brooke Muller, she like, damn that. You ain't getting in here, Darion Tolls. You going to have to pay the toll, which means you got to get by me, the white woman. Press play.
Please move, ma'am.
I can. Do you live here?
We didn't answer that question. Excuse me.
I'm sorry. The keypad is right there.
I understand that, ma'am.
You can film me. That's
okay,
fine.
I understand, ma'am, but you're blocking me.
Into my building.
Okay, and it's my building as well, so I need you to get out my way.
Okay, what unit?
I don't need to tell you that information. So excuse me, ma'am.
I'm uncomfortable.
Okay, you can be uncomfortable. That's your discretion. You're uncomfortable because of you. I need you to move out my way, please.
No.
Ma'am, please stop touching me.
I'm not touching you.
You just was previously. Before.
I'm not touching you at all.
So I'm going to step in.
I'm not touching you, and I'm not in any way doing anything outside of letting my dog go to the bathroom.
And I live here and you're blocking the door.
What unit?
I don't need to tell you that. What unit do you live in?
307.
Okay. Great. I'm on the 4th floor. Excuse me.
No. You don't have a key fob. You are... No.
No.
If you have that, then okay.
Ma'am, you're not security. You're not the property manager. You're not Mike Herman.
But I live here.
Okay, and I live here too. You're not Mike Herman. You're not Rick.
I don't like the fact you have your phone in my face.
Okay, I don't like the fact that you're blocking me for where I pay.
All I'm asking is what unit?
But you're not. I don't need to tell you that information, ma'am.
If you want to come into my building.
It's not your building. You're not the owner. You pay rent.
Sir, you walked up on a street.
Yes, yes, and I've already buzzed in. I've already used
did
my.
not.
Oh, man, it does not even matter. Can you get out of my way?
No. Can you show me the key fob into this
I'm
building?
not showing you anything. And the second, ma'am, I'm bound to walk through where I live at. So.
No.
Okay.
Can you show me the key fob into this? No.
Excuse me.
No.
Excuse me.
Are you kidding me? Wow.
Call the police, whatever you want to do.
Where are you going? Do you have a key fob that looks like this? You can film all you want. I'm not being rude. I'm not being disrespectful. You walked into a building that I was taking my dog out and pushed your way in. No. Who are you going up to the fourth floor to see? No, I want to know who you're going to see.
So now you gotta follow.
I am.
Why?
Because I would like to know who's friends and why you're here.
Because I live here.
And if you do, then I would like to meet you because you're a neighbor. And
You didn't start off on a good note. I don't want to do no dealings with you. I'm going to my house. I'm going to my house where I live at, where I pay.
I would like to introduce myself then as a neighbor. I would like to introduce myself.
I do not want to speak with you. Please stop following me. I'm going to call the cops for harassment. That's my next step. You just follow me all the way to my door.
As a place.
And you see my keys in the door. That is so, that.
As a record, I just want to say hi.
Ma'am,
What is your name?
Ma'am, you just, no. Have a good night, ma'am. Don't ever do that again. You look pretty stupid on video. Have a nice night. And my name's Mr. Tolles. Thank you.
The patience of that black man. Cause see, I'm just letting y'all know, the words that would have filtered out of my mouth would have likely been bleep 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 bleep.
30 seconds.
These white women have lost their damn mind.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. And I know you are men, so you have to, you have a special need for restraint. I'm sort of self-imposed.
Yeah, because you can't holler at white women.
Exactly.
You can't be a black man hollering at a white woman.
Saying, she better be glad it wasn't a sister, because her ass would have been halfway through that floor. I'm telling you, I can't imagine having that much patience with that level of ridiculousness and racism.
Talk way too long.
That's honestly, that conversation would not have lasted that long.
But this is the thing. And what's crazy is white folks have gotten really emboldened. Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, and so now we can say what's causing it, but Malik, I don't understand. It's them. It's the white boy who asked the black woman about her pool pass, lost his job. It's the white boy in Ohio, the electrical company who was hollering nigga, nigga, nigga. He lost his job. His whole business went bankrupt. And so what kills me is, I don't care if you keep recording. Okay. Heifer, you broke now because you ain't got a job.
No, I mean, I can't make any excuses for that or any of the videos that we've seen in the past couple of years. I honestly can't make any excuses of it. You know, I can say as a black conservative, this is something that I experienced most recently during our second year anniversary here at our second year anniversary that we had on Friday, where I got on the elevator and the lady asked, she said, well, what are you guys doing here? And I said, oh, well, this is our second year anniversary, the Black Conservative Federation. And she said, conservative? And I said, yes. And she said, conservative, as in you're a Republican? And I said, yes. She said, oh, I'm gonna barf. Let me get off the elevator. And she got off the next, on the next stop floor in the elevator. And I'm just sitting here like, wow, good thing that I was who I am. Because if she had had that same interaction with someone else, I mean, she literally said, oh God, I'm gonna barf.
Well, at least she ain't walking to your apartment.
I know.
Michael,
I don't know what's going on.
What kills me again is if you look at story after story, it's these white folk who will call the cops like they dial information.
311.
You know what was really, Roland, creepy about that too? When she was following him, it reminded me of the fact pattern of Trayvon Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Where he was walking and the person was following him and then got into the confrontation. And that's what this empowerment of white folks relative to black men is seriously problematic. And the leader of our country, I don't call him by his name, number 45, is not doing anything to help the problem.
And here's the other thing that you have here. I mean, you also have the story of the white man in Florida, where you get the students who had Florida A&M come into the building, who was carrying a gun.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, he pulls it out and flashes it, it slipped out. No. And see, the problem, this is the real problem here, okay? One of these white folks gonna get blown away. Because see, the reality is this here. That white woman following that brother, she is following to his apartment. She is stalking him.
Yeah.
Okay? You show that video in reverse, and that is a black man following a white woman to her apartment. All of a sudden, if she got concealed and carry, and all of a sudden she blow him away, they're going to say, that's self-defense.
And hope he's not in Florida.
I mean, this is a white woman blocking the door, standing in the way. And frankly, he had
George Wallace.
He had every right to bust her in the throat. I'm sorry. I mean, brother, like, damn it, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I go to the bathroom, and your white ass standing here blocking me from walking to the door. Yeah. I'm sorry. And see, for all the white folks out there, I'm trying to let y'all know, this ain't the generation of black people who gonna kneel down and pray for y'all. No. I'm letting y'all know. This is a whole different generation. And that brother was real calm, but these things keep happening, and I'm telling you, I'm warning all y'all white people, this thing is going to escalate when somebody gonna bust a cap in one of y'all asses, and it's gonna be like, oh my God, what happened? If you keep detaining black people and calling the cops on black people, either they gonna get shot or they gonna call the cops, and the cops gonna end up shooting one of these black folks because some fool sitting here lost their mind.
And the thing is, it will keep on happening because there's no consequence. You know, this happens. There should be some consequence for wasting the time and the resources that are associated for calling the police for frivolous reasons. And if you look at what happened with the little boy again, you know, his mother, further on in that tape, his mother came back and laid her out. Now, although she apologized finally, belatedly, after she got caught lying on this little boy, she now has the nerve to call for charges against the mother for defending her son. I mean, she's lucky, once again, that she didn't get knocked out. You know, because this is not the moment where people are ready to sit here and say, you can sit here and attack us, attack our children, stalk us, and expect nothing to happen in return.
Now, of course, Hillary Brooke Muller, who was a realtor at Tribeca Luxury Apartments, she ain't a realtor no more. She might be looking for a security job.
Consequences.
Exactly.
Consequences. And guess what? The company she worked for is a minority-owned company. They released this statement, quote, we are proud of this fact and do not and never will stand for racism or racial profiling at our company. She's no longer employed. And that's the way it should go. I'm telling you, Michael, you talked about earlier having the video. Every single one of these white folk who lose their mind also lose their job. So here's the deal. If y'all want to keep acting the fool, I ain't got no problem with the black unemployment rate going lower, with y'all losing y'all jobs, because if you keep tripping, and we gonna keep playing the videos, and we gonna happy to see y'all get fired every single time.
Yeah, I agree. And
I'm down with it.
Yep.
All right, y'all. Of course, this is also one of the reasons why. First of all, that video told 5 million views on Facebook. Wow. So many folks have seen it.
Wow.
So, Hillary, We all know. Matter of fact, you know what? It's probably gonna be a Dr. Phil show later on. He's gonna get all them white folks together on one show, and like, you got fired, 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 and that should be like, what the hell wrong with y'all? That should be the name of that episode. What the hell were y'all thinking? And so I'm looking forward to that, Dr. Phil. Go ahead and pull all them on the show. I just love to see all of them commiserate together in a focus group of crazy, broke, no having job white people. Looking forward to it. Folks, be sure to support Roland Martin Unfiltered by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, joining our Breen and Funk fan club. We certainly want you to do so to support the show and to support what we do. Tomorrow, we broadcasting live from Indianapolis, where they have a State of Black America event taking place, where I'll be moderating a panel featuring Susan Taylor, Michael Eric Dyson, and Reverend Al Sharpton. On Wednesday, I'll be broadcasting live from the National Civil Rights Museum Freedom Awards show. I'll be handling the red carpet duties there as well. Thursday, I'm in Los Angeles. One-on-one, me and Jason Whitlock. Oh, y'all know it's going to be funky. That's on Thursday. And then, of course, Friday, I'll be broadcasting live from the Young Turks studio in Los Angeles as well. So we've got one hell of a week planned for all of you. You do not want to miss that. Thanks to Michael, Avis, and Malik. We appreciate that. And for all of you for watching as well. Y'all know how we do. We're going to keep putting the pressure on folks, keep speaking truth to power. And don't forget, go out and vote. Georgia, early voting has started. Fill the polls up. Just go ahead and just be an inside agitator. Brian Kemp. Just gonna make him mad like George Wallace and Bull Connor and all the rest of them. Sorry.